Hey, 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 welcome in everybody. I'm so excited. Thank you for your patience. We are dealing with a little bit of technical difficulties as the internet on my side went out. So I'm on my hotspot right now. But I guess that goes along with our fireside chat that I would have to work from my hotspot since my home internet is out. But I'm excited to be with you again on another Tuesday. Again, welcome in. We are continuing our series, Fireside Chat. So, this is our second episode for this series for November. And we're super excited to be here with you. We're super excited to share in conversation. We talked a little bit last week about the ups and downs of of just emotion, not even just holiday season, but having to deal with complex emotions, different emotions at the same time, the highs and lows that happen, and how those things don't have to be separated, but we can really sit with it. We don't have to rush through grief. We don't have to rush through disappointment. We don't have to rush through things not going our way, but we kind of sit in it. So we want to expand on that today. If you are new to the event, welcome in. So happy to see you. So happy to join us. If you're comfortable, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, if you are joining us on YouTube, we definitely would love to hear where you're joining us from. So if you want to put your state, if you want to put your city state, we would love to know, kind of where everybody is. I know we have people in a few time zones. We have some people locally in the Suffolk, Chesapeake, Newport News, Franklin area. We have some people in the Midwest. We have some people in the South. So that's always exciting to know that there are people joining in from different places, that we have community both near and far. And again, if you've never been in here, if you popped in and popped out, if you're here consistently with us, we thank you. Like, the event would not be what it is without you. The event would not be able to, it just wouldn't exist if you weren't here with us. So thank you for being here with us. Thank you for listening in, for sharing, for your DMs, for reaching out, for texting, all the things that you do to make community what it is. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to the Vent team. It means a lot to me because, again, the Vent is here for community. And without community, it's just no point in us doing what we do. So if you're here now, thank you. Um, if you were here last week, we kind of went through, different emotions on the scale and kind of talked about how it's okay to process different things. And it doesn't mean that anything is wrong with us. Tonight we want to talk about like the holiday blues. That's what our Blue Flame is about. Talk about the holiday blues, talk about winter blues. The days are shorter, the nights are longer, it's colder out. Some people suffer from anxiety, seasonal depression. Some of us, everything is cheerful around us. Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? But we may not be in that mood to celebrate every day. We may not be in that mood or even looking forward to all of the upcoming holidays. We just may not be in the mood, even if it's not a holiday. Like, this is just not the time. I just don't feel like it. And often, people will try to cheer us up or try to push us into, no, you should be excited. And sometimes you're just not. And the space tonight is just giving us practical tools to deal with things like seasonal depression, practical tools to carve out time in your day to take care of you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Another goal of this series is to make sure that we all know that we have community. So whether you have people that are far or near, we want you to know that nobody here in the event is trying to rush you through your process. If you're dealing with loss, if you're dealing with grief, whether it be job, whether it be security, whether it be a person, whether it be this is your first, second, third, 10th, 20th Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year without a family member, or, without things that you had before, or there have been some changes in your life, we want you to know that it's okay to not be okay. One, right? It's kind of cliche, but also know that there are some practical things that can help. Like, we can't solve all your problems. We will never proclaim to do that. But what we do is we try to provide a safe space for you to have tools. So whether that's deep breathing, whether that's gratitude journals, whether that's just taking a moment to have affirmations where now you can write out the affirmation and later you may be able to pull it back out. So our goal is to make sure that you know that you don't have to handle things alone. And there are very practical things. Like, we're not talking up here. There are very practical things that you can do to process, to walk through, to work through. And if you don't need those tools, here's some tools that you can use for the people around you that you know may be going through, or it will create an awareness so that you know that you're in a happy mood, you're excited, it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving, the snow is coming, the leaves are falling. And that may be where you are, but we do want to create awareness so that we're not forcing people to where we are, but we are meeting people where they are so that they know that we're here for them as well, right? So welcome in. I'm so excited for this conversation. One, because we don't always get to have this, right? The event exists to have conversations that we don't always get to have, right? And one of the biggest things is making sure that that is a safe space to have the conversation. So we always appreciate your insight. This is not a lecture. This is not a monologue. This is us in conversation. So if you are a person that has had to deal with, facing the holidays under some extenuating or, after grief, after loss, or through grief and loss, we would love to hear kind of how you process that, what things that you may do so that you're able to make it through. And the other part of it is we want to just sit with you. So there are practical tools, but there are also moments where if you are hurting, we want to sit with you in your hurt and just be there and be present and just acknowledge, like, this is what's happening. It does not feel good. And we want you to work through that. And we will sit with you as you work through that. We will sit with you as you cry. We will sit with you as you just have silence. We will sit with you through your anger and not try to force you to move away from that prematurely. Right? So that's the goal tonight. And before we kind of hop all the way into some of these tools, I would like to know, how y'all feeling? Like, how was your day? How's your week been? How's your month? We're about a little bit over halfway through the month. So you can drop an emoji or emojis, right? Because you may be feeling 5-10 different things right now. Or you can just drop a word. So for some people, you may be feeling grateful. For other people, you may be agitated. Some other people may be, hesitant. Other people may be excited. Where are you? If you want to share, again, you don't have to share in the comments if you don't feel comfortable sharing. But if you are open to sharing, I would love to know you kind of like how your month, how your week, how your day, how your evening, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling excited, hopeful. We want to know where you are. So how are you feeling? Or if you're feeling a few of those things, we want to hear that as well, because again, we care about where you are. And in our community, it's not just to be all up in your business, but it's more of, we want to see where you are so we can meet you where you are, because that's our priority. This is a community of people who come together, not just people who just talk, and there's no resolve. So the resolve may be, I see you, I hear you, I recognize that. So even with that being said, what are some feelings? Like, we know that the holidays are coming. We know that Black Friday is happening, right? Cyber Monday deals. People are planning, or they probably have already planned, right? Thanksgiving meals. People are deciding where they're going to eat, who's going to cook, how you're traveling, what day you're leaving, what day you're coming back, where you're staying, if it's a hotel or Airbnb, or you're staying at somebody's house, right? Kind of putting those plans together. So for you that are on, again, whether you're joining us on Facebook, whether you're on Instagram, whether you are on YouTube, we'd love to know, like, what are some of the things that you, or some of the emotions that you experience as you enter the holiday season, right? It's kind of upon us now. As you think on that, if you want to drop it in the chat, we would love to hear it. But if you just want to process it by yourself, what are some of the things that you feel as you enter holiday season, right? For some of us, it may be excitement because you get to see people. But then for other people, it's like the anxiety of having to see people and have conversations with people, right? Even the people we love, our family members, our friends, it's the anxiety, because often we feel like we got to provide like life updates, right? And we got to let people know our progress since the last time we saw them, and they start asking questions about stuff that you forgot about or that you were going to work on, and you're not doing that anymore. And you kind of got to figure out, well, how am I going to explain this, right? We kind of almost feel like a duty to do these things or wait to do these things, right? Some of us may be feeling the financial burden of holiday season, right? Where you feel the need, like I have to get gifts, right? You have to get gifts for these people and those people. And we got to make sure that the house is here so that people can come over. Like there's an anxiety and a weight that comes with that as well. For other people, it is maybe I just lost a person or I lost some things. So this holiday is going to be different. And I don't know yet how I feel about that, right? I don't know what Thanksgiving looks like without this person. I don't know what Christmas looks like without this person. I don't know if I want to celebrate, right? I don't know if I want to go to grandma, granddaddy, uncle, auntie, cousin's house. I might just want to stay home, right? And it's like, for many of us, we have that in our mind, but it's not always easy to say that out loud, like, because the expectation that has been set is you're supposed to do these things, right? It's become the normal. You're supposed to go to somebody's house and you're supposed to come all together. But it's like, what happens when there's tension? What happens when things have shifted? What happens when there's people that you don't want to be around? What happens when it's things that you don't want to explain? What happens when you don't have the money, so I can't have the gift, so I don't want to come, right? What happens when you want to be there? And how do we kind of process that? So that's part of our conversation tonight. And while we may not necessarily reach a resolve, we do want to create an awareness and hopefully create a space of grace and safety so that if a family member or someone tells you, we're not going to make it this year, one, we respect their choice because you don't know why they're making the decision. And two, we're also not leaving people out that want to be present because we set these standards that, one, everybody can't meet, and two, they're not always necessary standards. Right? So we want to acknowledge those things so that moving forward, we know how to build and grow in relationship with the people that we love, the people that we like, right? And the people that we have to interact with. Because what we do not want to do is impose what we think is right on others just because it is traditional or the norm. And often these things are impacted by the seasons, right? So how do we manage the pressure of having to be festive when I'm already dealing with it's getting darker and I don't necessarily feel safe, or my days are shorter, so I'm trying to pack everything in during the days during the daytime when it's light. How do I manage how I feel when it's like literally it's cold outside and it's harder for me to make connections with people? How do I manage these feelings when I know, around November, around December, I entered a more depressive state? Like, how do I manage that? So we want to talk about a couple of those things. One of those things we always kind of start talking about is small ways to bring yourself joy and comfort. And again, even when we talk about self-care, we don't talk about in a way of doing these grand gestures or spending a whole bunch of money or doing these one and done things. Like, you can go to the spa and enjoy yourself, do it, enjoy it, have fun, right? That's kind of like that's part of it, right? The real work in finding joy, finding peace is the consistent things that you're able to do, whether it's weekly, daily, whether it's something that you have a set timer for, whether it's something that you schedule or something that is just part of your routine. When I wake up in the morning, I say affirmations. When I wake up in the morning, I read something on peace. Before I go to bed at night, I disconnect from the screen, because we don't often see how that connects, but all those things are connected, right? If I'm always wired and my mind is always going, before I go to bed, it's harder for me to get into that good area of sleep where I'm really resting versus I'm just sleeping, right? So if I disconnect from the screen, how does that impact my emotions and my mental state? It puts me in a space where my mind and my body are actually able to wind down, right? It's hard. Many of us can't wind down at night because we're on screens, because we're still thinking about what we have to do tomorrow, right? Because we're literally working up into the minute that we go to bed. So one thing we can do as we look at how we unwind and how we kind of find those bright spots in our day, even though it's dark at 4:30, 5 o'clock. One thing that we can do is start to disconnect from screens, right? So One, because it keeps our brain going, right? Literally the lights, the colors, the images, the videos, it does something in our brain to keep it going, right? And keep us, what's the word I'm looking for? Keep us stimulated, right? So we want to bring that down. Two, we want to disconnect from screens because the news, certain types of shows also keep us stimulated. So it's not just the physical screen, it's what we're watching that keeps us going and keeps our heart rate up, and it keeps our mind going, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. And while we may not think about it in the moment, it is affecting things like our blood pressure. It is affecting things like our heart rate. It is, it's affecting all these parts of our bodies, and our mind is still going. So if you take an hour or two, or even if you start with just 30 minutes before you go to bed, taking time to disconnect. Like, I'm not going to be scrolling, right? Easier said than done. That's why I said maybe start with like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Start in increments and build up. It's easier said than done, but one way we can start to try to wind down and just disconnect from like negative news and seeing crazy posts on social media and reading things, right, that start to get into our mind, is to take time to disconnect and just sit, and maybe listen to some quiet music, or listen to jazz, or listen to some smooth instrumentals, or the blues, or ocean wave sounds, right? So you still have something playing, but it's more of something that you can listen to calm you, versus I'm looking at a bright screen, right? So that's one thing, very practical, very and again, that doesn't just affect our mental, it now affects our physical body because you're getting quality rest, right? Another thing that we can do is throughout the day, schedule time to disconnect, right? So for 20 minutes a day, my phone may be on do not disturb. So I'm taking time. Again, this does not have to be something grand and something expensive. If I work all day, I may sit in my car during my lunch break. I'm stepping away from the desk. I'm going to another part of the building, or another part of my home, or another part of my office space, or I'm going outside. I'm disconnecting from what I've been connected to all day, the screens, the messages, the tabs. I'm disconnecting from the environment around me. So even though you consciously may not be listening to your coworker that's in the next cubicle, or you consciously may not be listening to, the custodian that's coming up, you may not be listening to these things consciously, but your subconscious is still bringing all that in. So at some point, you want to disconnect from that so that your body can just, and your nervous system can just, right? Because if not, you're constantly on. You're constantly on, right? I was talking to one of my friends maybe a couple of days ago. Hey, Miss Tracy, and we were talking about driving and how tired we feel after we're driving. Because part of you feels like, I shouldn't be this tired because I'm just sitting here. But the reality of it is, even though when you're driving, this is the analogy, right? Even though you're driving, when you're driving, you're sitting down, you're sedentary, your mind is still going, right? Because you're thinking about the cars around you, you're thinking about the speed limit that you're going, you are thinking about where your next stop is going to be, you're thinking about the whatever directions are on the screen. So while you may be in a sedentary state physically, your mind is still going. And I think many of us often forget that, yeah, you may sit all day for your job, or you may get up every now and then, but you're on a screen and you're going. Your mind is going, your thoughts are going, your body is making sure that you have the energy to keep going. You have all these things that are going on mentally and emotionally that you're processing, even if you're not doing a lot of physical movement. So taking the time to just literally, you might call it a brain break, right? One thing I call is a brain break. So you do work for, let's say, 45 minutes, and then you take a brain break for like 5 to 10 minutes, right? You do work for another hour, and then you take a brain break. And brain break is not sit at your desk. Brain break is get up, take a lap, go outside, get some fresh air, right? Get some sunlight. It's harder to do it in the wintertime, we can be honest, but you have to get some sunlight. You have to get fresh air. And the best time to do it now is during a lunch break, or if you have 10-minute, 15-minute breaks. If you can take that time, it may seem very minuscule, but your body will thank you for that. if you just go sit in your car and listen to your favorite song and eat a bag of chips, right? Or eat some carrots. Let's be healthy, right? Eat some fruit, or you eat a banana. Take the time to just disconnect from all the outside noise and take care of yourself for that 5 minutes, because that will go a long way. Because if not, you're just continually pushing, and you're not giving yourself a break. Miss Blunt said, take control of your thoughts. Think about good things. Yes, part of that is your thoughts. So when you wake up in the morning, you control and you command your day. Today's going to be a great day, right? Even if you don't think it is, you got to fake it till you make it, right? Because what you say out loud and what you say to yourself becomes real, and it becomes what your body believes, right? So if you wake up and say, today is going to be terrible, your body and your mind is looking for all the terrible things because you've already declared that it's going to be terrible. So what we do now is, today's going to be a great day, because now your brain is now programming itself to say, even if opposition comes, even if that coworker says something crazy to me, even if traffic is terrible, even if somebody cut me off, even if the meeting get pushed back, even if I don't get the results I wanted, it's still a good day, right? And your brain will start to think it's still a good day, and you start looking for ways that it's still a good day. Versus if I wake up and say it's gonna be a bad day, you're now looking for, right, all the bad things. So you taking control is, or it's also, it may not have been the best day. However, I get a fresh start tomorrow. It may not have been the best day. Like you can still find, it doesn't have to be all bad, right? And even in the moments that are bad, you can sit in it and you can acknowledge it. We're not totally delulu, right? We still live in reality. So yes, that wasn't the best thing that happened. However, right, I still get another chance to do this. I learned this along the way, right? And that may not be your immediate thought. We could be honest, right? That may not be your immediate thought, but you have to get back to that space of, I'm acknowledging that, okay, this didn't go as planned. I'm disappointed. Acknowledge it. I'm disappointed. I'm upset. I'm frustrated, right? Now, how am I going to work through this? Or pause. How am I going to pause so I can collect myself? I'm gonna drink some water. I'm gonna take a walk. So I don't have to get to the great part yet, but I am gonna pause, because what I'm not gonna do is let this bad part totally engulf me, right? Hey T2 Chic Boutique is on IG. She said, speak it into existence. And that's it. The more you tell yourself, the more your perspective changes. So yes, like I said, we're not delusional. Some days are just not the best days. Some things happen and they just hurt. They cause us to have some type of self-doubt. But what we don't want to do is be the other voice that adds to that doubt. We want to be the one that helps pull us out of it, or at least we acknowledge it, but don't let it overtake us. Miss Rosa said the mental exhaustion. Yes, from that, like that driving analogy, it's not a physical exhaustion, it's a mental exhaustion. When you sit at the computer every day, or you just work all day, that is not an accomplishment. To just work 8 hours straight through, 10 hours straight through, 12 hours straight through, no matter what you do for a living, that is not an accomplishment. Your accomplishment is, I worked, I took a break, because you're exhausting yourself. And even if you even if you don't work anywhere where you have to use your hands, if your brain is constantly going, it starts to affect everything, right? Your stress starts to affect your physical body. Your mental stress starts to literally weigh on you. When they say stress kills people, right? And it starts in the mental. Oftentimes it starts in the mental. T2 she also said mini meditation is a good refresher for your mental. Yeah, take some time to take some deep breaths, right? Meditate on something, like literally totally disconnect from what's around you and imagine, like a stream flowing, or birds flying, or, the waves crashing. Imagine that, or even make a playlist with those things that bring you peace. So, I mean, just going through your phone and looking at pictures of your kids. It's that going back and looking at vacation, like those things that, oh man, that help calm me. Scents, like having like lavender, drinking tea. Y'all know I'm always mention tea, right? Chamomile tea, lavender tea, peppermint tea, having those things. And yes, stress is a silent killer. And that's why it's silent, because we don't always recognize it, because it masks itself, because we're like, well, I didn't do a lot today. Well, often you did a whole bunch mentally, even if you didn't do a lot physically. Miss Tracy said, I work harder now doing mutual funds than I did putting up stock at Walmart. Thinking for myself and solving others' problems is mentally draining. Must separate, take a walk. Absolutely. And one thing that I try to do, and I learned this from my mentor, is making all your like major decisions, because what he call it, decision fatigue. A lot of us get decision fatigue, because if you're making decisions all day and you're thinking all day and you're having to figure out things all day, by the end of the day, you're done. Like, you don't even want to decide what you're eating for dinner, right? You don't want to decide what TV show you're working, because you have decision fatigue. I've been making decisions all day. I don't care what we eat. I don't care if it's a peanut butter and like, I don't care. I don't want to make no more decisions, right? And if y'all ever felt like that, like, oh my gosh, people been asking me questions and I've been answering and making decisions all day. I don't want to do it anymore. One of the big things that I try to implement, and I don't always get it right, I'm gonna be honest, is to make all my major decisions before noon. So whatever big decisions I gotta make, let's go ahead and do it and get out of the way, so that the rest of my day can be easy going, free flowing. Not foolproof, right? However, if the things that I can control, if I know I need to do some major things or some heavier work, let's do that between like 6 and 10 if possible. And then after that, it's like we just doing follow up, or just, we're doing something really light, so that the rest of my day I don't have to keep doing these major things. Like, let's just get it over with. Or depending on you, time blocking. From 8 to 10, I'm gonna do this. Then I'm gonna take a break. Then I'll do this. Whatever works for you. Some people you gotta figure it out. Other people, that may be your week, right? So from Monday or Sunday through Wednesday, that's when I do heavy work. Thursday, Friday, Saturday is smooth sailing. I'm not doing a whole bunch of heavy lifting. I'm not doing a whole bunch of decision making, right? So you kind of have to figure out what works for you, right? And that requires discipline, one, because the first hurdle is actually implementing it. But then the first hurdle is actually deciding to do it, right? The second hurdle is implementing, and then the third hurdle is doing it consistently. So if I say Monday through Wednesday, I'm gonna do the bulk of my work, so that Thursday through the rest of the week, I'm kind of chilling. I have to be disciplined enough to do the work and not keep pushing it off. Oh, I can do it tomorrow. Oh, I can do it tomorrow. Because next thing you know, it's next week, and you kept saying, I'm gonna do it tomorrow. So now you have all these projects building up, where if I was disciplined enough, I could have got it done, right? So with some of these things, let me be clear, it is decisions that we make. There are other things that are completely out of our control, right? So losing a loved one, losing a job, facing disappointment, those are things we can't control, right? But the way that we can help ourselves kind of navigate those spaces more freely without so many weights is being disciplined in other areas, so that that's not another weight that we have to carry as we're navigating these spaces. Chips are better though. Still blessed, not a bad, Miss Tracy said, not a bad day, just some moments of the day. Yes, that's absolutely right. This is the day the Lord has made. Absolutely. Ms. Blunt said, practice having a peace of mind. You have a choice to change your mind anytime. Absolutely. And I think that's a good statement. One, because you can change your mind. So often we think we make decisions and we have to stay in that decision. Like, man, I said this, so I got to stay with this. If you change your mind, you change your mind. If you have to change your mind to maintain your peace of mind, change your mind, right? Hey, if you got to call somebody and say, hey, I know I told you this time, but I'm going to have to push it back. Push it back, if it's one of those situations. We don't want that to be our default, but there's some moments, right, where we have to do that. And then there are other moments when you have to change your mind as far as your perspective. Like, you have to reframe your thoughts, right? And again, that's another thing that takes discipline. So reframing our thoughts is one, and I had this conversation earlier this week too with somebody, was if you already know, like, let's talk about cowork, let's talk about family, because we're talking about holiday depression and we're talking about seasonal depression. If you already know how somebody is, don't excuse their behavior. Let me be clear. But if you already know how somebody is, shift your expectations, right? So I already know how you are. I already know what your responses are. I already know X, Y, and Z about this person. I know them, and I know how they react, and I know how they act. So what I'm gonna do is I know that, so that is what I'm gonna expect from them, right? We have high hopes for people. We think people are going to change. We pray for them to change 100%. Excuse me. However, if you know how somebody is, expect that. And you now change your perspective, right? And you change your responses. And you already know, I know this person going to act like this. So what I'm not going to do is get upset at you for acting how I already know you're going to act. I hope that makes sense. Y'all, because y'all, I know that y'all got people like this, right? We all got people that get on our nerves, that come through and they got to be the center of attention at the family meal. They come through just to ruffle people's feathers. Like if you got an uncle or a cousin that's, you know, they're going to say something crazy just because they want to get a response from people, don't take what they saying to heart. They are doing it on purpose, and you know that. Don't pay them no mind. Don't give them the weight, right? Don't let them have so much input on your feelings when you already know how they are. They said what they said. Don't take it to heart. It's not personal. That's how they are. This is who they are. So now you might not be able to change them, but what you can do is know that, okay, I expected this. So I'm not even gonna get upset with you because whatever you're dealing with is what you're dealing with, but I'm not gonna let it change my day or ruin my experience because I know how you are already. Like it is what it is. And I may have to change how I approach you or what I share with you or how I talk to you, but I can only change what I can change by what I can do. I can't change what nobody grown doing, right? I can pray for you. I can wish for more for you, but I also got to know who you are and understand who you are and do what I need to do to work through that with you, right? That's just what it is. We want to be honest, right? This event, we safe space. We all got them people where we're like, oh, they're going to be at the dinner. They're going to be there. You already know what time it is, right? We love them. Whatever. Miss Rosa said, be intentional. Yes, and that goes back to our discipline. Be intentional about how you're doing things and how you're talking to people and how you treat yourself. Miss Rosa said, expect the reality that you can't change people. And as much as we love on people and we wish the best for them, the reality is you cannot change anyone, right? People change because they want to change, not because you want them to change, because they want to change. That doesn't mean you got to stop praying for them. It doesn't mean that you can, you give up hope on them, but it means that as you're praying, as you are hoping, you also deal with the reality. You do both. You deal with the reality of this is where they are now. Love you, but we only doing so much. Miss Tracy said, that famous, I don't mean no harm, but yes, you mean harm because you forewarn me. Yes, whenever people say, I don't mean no disrespect or I don't mean no harm for what I'm about to say, they absolutely do. And that is why. That is your warning sign to what's about to come out of their mouth about to be crazy. But I'm not going to take it to heart because I don't have to accept it. I don't have to accept it as true. I don't even have to deal with it because I can't change you, but I can redirect me and reframe what I'm doing. T also said, we do meal prep for the week. We all got to do mental prep as well. Absolutely. She said the same way we do meal prep, we have to do a mental prep. So the way you on Sunday or Monday or whatever day of the week that you do it, the way you prep your meals and you plan your itinerary or you plan your dinner menu or whatever you plan, she's saying do that mental prep as well, right? And that's as you're going into a meeting, that's as you're going to meet family members, that's as you're dealing with siblings, that's dealing with parents, that's dealing with coworkers, that's dealing with bosses, supervisors, that's dealing with colleagues, that's dealing with people that you manage or supervise. Plan. You have to mentally right, prepare. Okay, I know this person is like this. I know that our last meeting went like this. So in order for me to fight the blues, right? In order for me to navigate the blues, this is how I'm going to approach it. Will it be foolproof? Will we get 100% results? No, but what we can do is start getting into practice of, okay, analyzing situations before we get in them to prevent unnecessary harm to ourselves, right? And often, as we kind of go back to family, people talk about, but that's your cousin, that's your mom, that's your, sure, right? But we want healthy connections and relationships. So if that means, if me having an unhealthy relationship, especially if it's something that is not under my control. If I have unhealthy relationships with people, what I do not want to do is try to force somebody into a space with someone that they are not comfortable or do not feel safe with. So it's like, oh, you're not going to Christmas dinner, but that's your, sure, that is my family member, but that does not give way to me not having a boundary, right? I still have boundaries. So I may go to the house for 15 minutes and say hello and greet, and then I'm out because I can't be here for 2 hours with y'all, right? Or I may just do a phone call like, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy your day. Or my response may even be neither, right? This year, I just need a pause, right? Because my boundaries have not been respected, because, I've told you this over and over again, and you have not obliged to that, because, you've done some things that cause harm to me. I may not be in a space for us to talk about it yet, especially during the holidays. So I'm going to pause, and I'm going to make sure that I am in a safe space, because I'm not willing to bring down my boundaries for the sake of a holiday, right? And nobody should guilt you into doing something because that is your fill in the blank. I hope that makes sense, right? This is your blank. Sure, it is. However, I have to maintain my mental health. I have to maintain my safety mentally, physically, emotionally. I have to maintain those things for me and maybe for my children, or for me and my spouse, or for me and, whoever, my grandchildren. That may mean that Thanksgiving looks different or Christmas looks different. And what I'm saying today is that's okay if that's what you need to maintain your mental health. Don't let anybody bully you or guilt you or push you into putting yourself in a space that you will not do well in, and that's going to cause you more harm, right? We do not want to do that, right? So when we talk about discipline, we talk about setting boundaries. We talk about that a lot. But I think sometimes with holiday and family, lines can get kind of blurry. But you can still institute those things respectfully, and institute those things for yourself and for the people that you love, because that's still important no matter what day of the year it is. Like, it doesn't change because Christmas is here. It just may be a different way for you to navigate that space, right? So I definitely want to hear from y'all. What are some things that you do during the holiday season to bring you joy, to bring you comfort, or to protect your peace? Do you have any things, any specific practices or mantras or affirmations or things that you do, routines that you do to protect your peace in really any season? But tonight we're kind of specifically talking about holiday season, and as we face like winter and shorter days, longer nights, what do you do, or what advice would you give to someone for them to protect their peace? Miss Tracy said, reclaiming my time, hashtag reclaiming my peace. No is a complete sentence. No, I can't do it. I have scheduled time for myself. That's good. No is a complete sentence. And that's another one of those things that require discipline. So often for many of us, we say no, and then we're like, oh, we cringe, right? Like, I can't believe I said no. But the more you do it, the easier to get, I promise. And the more you do it, the more you'll realize how much peace you have when you say no to things that do not align with where you're trying to go, or what you want to do, or what you've already professed that you want. So if I say I need peace in this season, but I keep saying yes to things that pull me away from peace, I'm going to learn to say no at some point because you keep pulling me away from my peace, right? If I keep scheduling time for myself, and then every time somebody asks me something, it's during that time that I already scheduled for myself, I'm going to have to start telling you no, because I have to choose me. There's some moments, and I know it sounds harsh to some people and it sounds bad, but there are moments where you have to choose you, right? For the good of yourself, for your mental health, for your physical health, for your mental health, for your spiritual health. You have to choose you. Those people will be okay. You have to choose you. Miss Blunt said, give some grace during the holiday. Absolutely. Don't keep pushing people into places because you think that's where they should be. Give them grace to get to that point. I'm sorry, this light is making my face itch, y'all. This Miss Tracy Mingley said, "This is my first time in 3 years to celebrate the holidays since Vaughn passed. I don't know what to do, trying to get out and do some fun things without guilt." Yeah, and it's hard to process after losing a loved one. I have not lost a child, so I cannot speak to it directly, but I will say it's hard to process, especially holidays and the memories and different things around after you've lost someone who's very, very close to you, because you feel guilty because they're not there with you, right? We often feel that guilt. We often feel like, oh, I can't, right? I don't feel right celebrating. I don't feel right laughing. I don't feel like right having joy when this person is not here to do it with me. I would encourage you to be around people that love you, right? Doing things and getting out doesn't always have to be this grand expensive thing, but it may just be going to a friend's house or celebrating, or even implementing. One of the things I did with my patients is implementing new traditions. So maybe you celebrate and you have a plate out for the person that's not there, or maybe you celebrate by developing a new tradition in their honor, right? We're doing this. We do like a like, let's say your family member love butter pecan ice cream, right? So every Thanksgiving now, everybody has butter pecan ice cream with their dessert. Like small things where you can honor them and you can celebrate at the same time. Maybe you have an ornament, a special ornament, like an angel or something with their name on it, and you have a certain day that you hang that up. So it's like we celebrate and we honor you at the same time. We can start implementing things like that if you're up to that, right? It may take time to even move into that, but I would encourage, yes, having moments to yourself, but also having moments where you are around other people, so that, because sometimes when we're alone too long, we begin to we kind of can go into darker spaces if we're not quite ready to process that alone, right? And we all have moments. So there's some moments, right, when we in grief and we feel good and we are, we're celebrating their life and we think about the good moments and we're laughing and we're smiling. And there are other moments when we might be out in the floor crying, right? And that's okay, because grief is not linear. That we all have days, whether it's been 3 years or 10 years or 20 years, we all have days where it's like, oh, I'm laughing. And then you might do that at the same time, right? You laugh and then you bust out crying because, that's just, we're human. So we process emotion. Chaplain Duke said, ask myself before I go somewhere, is this life-giving or life-absorbing? Make sure I'm not giving all my vacation time to being emotionally available for everyone without investing in self-recovery. Yes, and that's part of us having discipline. So one of the ways he's saying he protects his peace and is able to do things is ask yourself that question. Okay, somebody asked me to do something. Is this life-giving or life-absorbing? And now my answer will be based on whatever category I put that in, right? And then when you talk about vacation time, is the vacation time for me, or is my vacation time for me to go do something for somebody else? Because then maybe that determines how I spend it and when I spend it, if it really helps me, or if I'm now taking off time from one job or one space to go really work in another space. So I just don't get a break, right? Thank you for sharing that. Miss Tracy said family doesn't even understand. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, and it's not, and often, and y'all know we honest. I love y'all. I hope y'all love me. Right. Family won't understand. So often the people we think are really close to us, they just don't get it. And to be honest, we can't, because even we can all, like, let's say we lose a family member. It may be a cousin to me, a mom to somebody else, a aunt, a friend. We all are experiencing grief in a different way. So what I'm doing and how I'm celebrating, you may not understand because you're in a different space grieving that person because you had a different type of relationship. So we were all family, but we all had different levels and types of relationships. So even we grieve differently and we celebrate the person differently, we honor the person differently, and we process differently. And that's okay. Like we said before, we don't want to impose how we grieve, how we honor on someone else, because the relationship is just different. Miss Tracy said he loved cooking and helping people. I want to find a place to feed the less fortunate. That sense of helping others who may be alone too or hurting will help me. Absolutely. That is a way to honor, right? So it's a way to honor your loved one, but it's also a way for you to be active in that honoring, right? So that's a great, I think that's a great idea. Ms. Tracy also asked about explaining life-giving versus absorbing. And Chaplain Dukes responded and said, life-giving is like going to see people who you can be yourself around, while going to family could be heavy because they lean on you to solve their problems. Absolutely. So life-giving is like, I gain something and I am poured into. While life observing is I'm absorbing is I'm the one that's pouring into. So people are pulling from me, which neither has to be good or bad, but you just have to decide, is this a moment, right? Because both of those are necessary at different moments, but you have to decide in that moment, do I have the wherewithal and the virtue and the energy to go into a space that's going to be taken from me, or am I in a space right now where I just need people to pour into me, right? So that is a decision that many of us have to make on a day-to-day basis. Like, okay, in this moment, what do I need? Do I want to be around the people who constantly pulling and asking me for things, which I love them and I want to do that? Or do I need a space right now for somebody who is going to pour into me and I can pour into them? It may go both ways. There can be many ways that can happen. Thank you for explaining that, chat. So those things are so major especially during this season, right? Holiday season can be so difficult for many of us to navigate because we're experiencing so many different feelings, so many different emotions. We are processing things. We are trying to live up to certain expectations. We are, it's so much happening, and it's like, how do I deal with all this? And I think the biggest thing is similar to what Ms. Blunt said: protect your peace. Whatever that looks like for you, it starts very foundationally at you being disciplined and pouring into you and taking moments to show yourself warmth, right? We're talking about fireside chat. So showing yourself warmth is not just giving other people grace, but giving yourself grace. Like today, I got up and I felt totally unmotivated, right? But I'm going to give myself grace because I'm not showing up on point every day all the time, and that's okay. Like, there's no rule that says that you have to be 100% every day. Society may tell you that, but there's no way. Like, nobody shows up 100% every day, right? And that's okay. The other part is having the discipline to say, okay, how do I pour into me? And really taking the time and being intentional. I think Ms. Rosa mentioned that, being intentional about pouring into yourself. So that means planning time to pause in your day. That means eating, right? We all indulge, right? Donald, we talk about the chips. We all indulge at some point, but it means being disciplined about, okay, I'm going to eat well, I'm going to drink water, I'm going to get fresh air, I'm going to reframe my thoughts so that I'm speaking positively to myself, right? So I might speak positive Monday through Wednesday. So then when Thursday comes and I'm just over it, I have a bank already built up of positive things that I can pull from, or I have people around me that I can call and be like, look, today ain't the best day. I just need somebody to talk to, right? So I even if I can't pull it out of my bank right now, right, I do have somebody that I can go to. And it don't have to be a lot of people, right? With friendships, it's always quality over quantity. Having that space where it's like, look, today wasn't the best day. I just need somebody to talk to. I need you to look. I'm not. It ain't it. I need somebody. I need you right now. Pray for me. Talk to me. This is what's going on, right? But you got to have the discipline to be able to do it, and we have to have the discipline to pour into ourselves, even in moments where we may not feel down. Pouring into yourself is like saving up for later, right? Like bears hibernating, they eat because they know there's a season coming where they're just gonna be sleeping, and it may be harder for them to find food. So it's like, let me get it up now. So in the times where it feels void, or the times where it feels like barren, I have a storehouse, right? Whether it's an internal storehouse or it's a storehouse around my network and the people around me, I have somewhere I can go and grab something that I need, right? I've built up my pantry, right, where I can go in and say, okay, The store is out. They out of turkey. Everybody bought up the turkey, but I got some in my pantry and in my storehouse I can pull out and feed myself because today just won't it. This week, this month just won't it, and I need to lean into people. So those are the two biggest things: that discipline and really protecting your peace, even if it means, like Miss Tracy said, you have to say no to some things because I can't let you absorb from me right now. I need to be poured into right now. Miss Blunt said, grief can feel isolating, but it's so important to verbalize it and let others support you through the process. Speaking about your pain, whether to a trusted friend, family member, counselor, or even in prayer. I'm going to put this one up so we can all see it. Even in prayer helps release the burden and opens the door to healing. Grief shared is grief lightened. I love that. Grief shared is grief lightened. It reminds us that we don't have to carry our emotions alone and that connection can bring comfort and strength. She said so much in this that is pivotal to our conversation, right? You can feel isolated because you don't have all the things and you're not able to buy your kids and you don't have the largest house to have the gatherings. You can feel grief because this person that I was so close to is no longer here, or this job I had security in doesn't exist for me anymore, right? But us speaking and saying it out loud helps us not only gain our control back, but it helps us, like she said, lighten the burden. So now I have trusted family members, friends, therapists, counselors that help lighten the load because they're sharing the load with me. And part of many healthy relationships is showing people you don't have to carry this by yourself, right? Like you may be going through something, but I'm not going to allow you to carry that alone, right? But what I can't help you with what I don't know. So if you're not sharing it, and again, you don't have to share it with everybody, but if you're not sharing it and you're not releasing it, you are just carrying the burden, right? And often we're pushing ourselves further and further down into it because we want to hold on to it. When often letting go is where we really get our release and where we're really able to grow and flourish by just getting it out. Y'all ever had a day where you just like released and you just got stuff off your chest, right? And you just felt lighter, like, you know what, I just needed to get it out, right? Or you just cried and it just made it better. Sometimes you need those moments to just take the burden off by releasing it. Thank you for sharing that, Ms. Blunt. Chaplain Duke said, sometimes you need to let folks know that you aren't trying to hear gossip or foolishness this year. You just want to enjoy the fellowship and celebrate being together. Let's put that one up too. This from the chaplain. Let the people know I'm not gossiping with you. I ain't talking about no foolishness with you. What I want to do is enjoy you. You talking about somebody that ain't even here to enjoy themselves, or you talking about somebody that's in the other room, or you talking about somebody, mama, daddy, cousin, sister, baby daddy, baby mama, ex-husband, girlfriend. No, we're not doing that today. I want to enjoy this. I don't want to talk about what somebody don't have, lost, got. No. We're not doing that. Right? Let's focus. What do you have going on? Right? What are you celebrating? How can we come together and celebrate? Because what we're not going to do is that, right? And again, we don't have to care, because often that adds a burden. When we constantly listen to people talking craziness, that's a burden because now we carrying that. So just being vocal is good. Absolutely. Miss Tracy Mingalee said, showing up is half the battle. That's a blessing by itself. Yep. You waking up in the morning, you already won half the battle. Yeah, you got up. You moving, right? You're working through the day. That's half the battle. Chaplain Duke said, sometimes we need to reframe what is desired versus what is essential. Absolutely. And that goes in so many areas, right? We can carry that conversation into so many spaces. Oh, y'all, it is 10:06. Y'all didn't tell me. It's 10:06. All right, we got 2 more minutes. Hey, Cliff. I just saw you were on. I'm trying to catch up with everybody. But one of the things, we're going to do one more point, 2 minutes. We're going to be out 10:08. Right? It's 10:06, 10:08, we out. So we need to reframe what is desired versus what is essential, because sometimes what we desire, one, is not what's really needed. And sometimes what you desire may be true, but it may not be true for that moment. So we have to analyze, okay, is this what I want or is this what I need? Right? Is this what is needed, but is it what's needed right now? Right? Because sometimes we can be right, but our timing can be off. So yeah, certain things need to happen, but we may not want to push that and pull that onto somebody, today while we eating turkey. May not be the right time. Right? And we need to be able to discern and talk about that versus trying to make things happen and frustrating not just ourselves, but everybody around us. So we may have to analyze and reframe, like you say, okay, is this something that I just really want and that I desire? Or is this something that's actually essential and that it's needed? So once we start to determine those, we can start putting things into categories and saying, you know what, that's a whole conversation I may not have to have right now because it's what I want, but is it really what's needed? Right? Is this going to benefit me? And this because I want it's going to benefit me, so I want y'all to do it, or is this something that can benefit the people around me as well? Right? Like when we start analyzing things, we start making different decisions. And Miss Tracy said every day release. Absolutely. Absolutely, y'all. It's 10:07, right? I want to thank you all for coming in for your chat. Thank y'all for your chats, for listening in, for the people who share. And again, I never take for granted what you share because many of you have shared from personal losses as well as like the grief that you're actively working through. So I appreciate your transparency and your vulnerability and that you feel like you can do it in this community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember to protect your peace, right? Final thought, find a way for the rest of this year to implement how you are going to practically protect your peace from today forward. How do you plan to protect your peace? You don't have to talk about it tonight, right? Because it's 10:08. But how are you going to protect your peace moving forward? Miss Blunt, I should have known she was going to throw it up. Psalm 91, right? How do you plan to protect your peace? And then write it down and actually start taking steps to practically do it. Saying no, reciting scriptures, saying affirmation, whatever that is for you. I also want to let you know we have a couple things coming up, and I'll drop the flyers. We are starting our event nightcaps. So what there will be is Sunday through Thursday. We will be live at 8:00 from about 5 to 10 minutes. Just winding down for the day. So for some nights it may look like a quick meditation. For other nights it may be something for you to reflect on, like a phrase or a quote or scripture for you to reflect on. For other times we may have a theme for the night and we talk about that. 5 to 10 minutes vent nightcap, Sundays through Thursdays at 8 p.m. We'll be live right here. We just want to talk, have a moment, and like literally have our nightcap. So bring your tea, bring your coffee, whatever it is that you do to calm down, come in your robe, right? We want to spend that time with you and help you, and we can all wind down together. We also have a community bonfire coming up. If you visit our website, you can RSVP for that. We have our fireside chats online, but we have a community bonfire coming up where we will all get together and talk around the fire in real life. We'll have a hot cocoa bar. We'll have charcuterie. We'll have s'mores kits. So we would love for you to be a part of that moment. Again, just visit our website, theventmovement.life, to RSVP for that. But again, thank you all. Protect your peace. Pause and pray. Don't waste rational thoughts on irrational people. Read Psalm 91. Just to protect your peace, whatever that looks like. I will see y'all again Sunday. We're launching our event nightcap. So Sunday, 8 p.m. Let's meet here again and let's wind down for today and get excited and ready for our week. Good night, everybody. I will see you again soon.